participants will know what to avoid in your essay. So I don't want to just show like exemplar responses. I also want to show what are the things to avoid, because sometimes that's not given. And then the last thing that I hope to cover tonight is to know the common mistakes that are made in the college essays and how to sidestep them. So within that, I think that we're going to have time to discuss meaningfully about what to talk about. So your do now questions to start on the first page where it said do now and had the stop sign. It asks like, what is your dream school? What is most interesting thing about yourself? What is one thing you wish people knew about you? And what is your greatest skill? So hopefully that was just like a brainstorming fine to like start creating an image of who you are and really keep that at the forefront of your brain as part of your thinking job tonight. I just want to ground us also in the why. If you've had me as your teacher, you know that I always like to talk about why. And at any point, you can add to the chat function. I have it pulled up so I can read what you're saying. But as part of the why is that college graduates are more likely to be employed, earn higher salaries, and are more likely to retain their jobs in a difficult economy than high school graduates. So if you just have your diploma or GED. Another reason is, college is fun. And I say this not from my experience, but from the experience that I've heard from so many alumni, where they are challenged to think about themselves and their identity and who they want to be and what they want to be true about themselves in a way that accelerates the process. Of course, that makes it super hard. Like it really is difficult to introspect and really think about who you are and what you want to be true for your life. But you meet a ton of people who are on that same journey, and you're left with a ton of resources too. Colleges have really incredible connections, networks, and services because as you are a student, they are accountable to you. So they really are meant to be of service to you. You're paying for it, not only a degree, but you're paying for a skill set and a service. So you get to choose your classes based more on your interests, which a high school diploma is not meant to be specific and individualized. It's meant to be general. And you get to kind of focus in on what you want. And there's a wide array of topics, biochemistry to computer science to history to Spanish, you get to choose. And I wanted to show you an example of my college schedule just so you can see what we mean in case you haven't had the chance to really see what college schedules look like. This was my sophomore year of college. And you can see the blocks of time. In chemistry, I had, 8 to 9:30, 8 to 8:50, so early morning. Classes didn't go before 8 a.m. And then when I had labs, they went for 3 to 4 hours. So all sorts of craziness. You can see my Thursday, I left open. I would work on Thursday night, so I wanted to have time to get work done, but also like put in a shift at work as well. So I wanted my Wednesday to always be the heaviest day of classes, which you can decide what you want to do for yours. I'm going to turn it back to you in the Google Doc. Answer the questions that say under common application. So that should be on page 3. Under common application is the heading. There are 2 questions before the stop sign. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to answer. So this is meant to be participatory, make you like really streamline your thinking. 3 minutes. This is in your Google Doc that you made a copy of. If you need a copy, it is sent in the messages. This is also what I sent out in the email. Answering the 2 questions under common application. Try to add more detail to your answer if you're done already. You have 1 more minute. Ten more seconds to wrap up your thinking. All right, time is up. I'm going to call on Liliana to unmute your call and tell me why I picked those 2 questions. Hello, I hear you.
What was the question?
Why do you think I chose those 2 questions for you to think about? Hmm. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. You can mute again. Thank you for your bravery and sharing. I think you're spot on. Colleges want to know why that school, and they also want to know who are you. So that's the whole point of the application is like, why do you want to come here, and what do you have to offer us? So there's twofold, and the significance of your personal statement is that you get to tell them. So there are really clear ways that you can model who you are as a student. That's part of the Common Application. But the personal statement is where you get to say your extra thing. So I want to bring us to just a little self-reflection. If you cannot read these character traits, if you scroll down to page 4 and click the character traits list, it will show the exact same list of words in the Google Doc. And I'm going to give you 1 minute to pick which 5 words you think best describe you. There are about 100. So from that list, decide which 5 words best describe you. So you get 1 minute to just pick those 5. If it doesn't take you a full minute, you can jump to the next part of the question. But 1 minute to pick your 5 words. "30 seconds. You're thinking about which of the 5 words are the best descriptors of who you are. And your time is up. So underneath in this would be page number 4 in the Google Doc. You can see I'm also saying write evidence as to why these are true. So if you chat in the function or in the chat function, type in one of the character traits that you picked for yourself. So in the chat function of the Google Hangout, pick one of the character traits. Hello, Liliana. We are on page 4 of the Google Doc, and we're looking at character traits. So everybody had 1 minute to pick 5 character traits from the list. And now they're chatting one of them into the Google Hangout. Ajane, articulate. All right. So Ajane, you would write into your doc now underneath it why you know that. So you could tell a specific story of a time that, like, you could share. We've had many conversations where you have been able to articulate your feelings or your thinking very clearly, and you could show why that was a value add for you being passionate. So you could talk about what you're passionate about or ways that you've shown your passion. So I'm giving you time now to think about either a specific story that demonstrates that quality or ways that you spend your time that demonstrate like how you commit to that character trait or specific things you have done. I'm going to push you for specificity. So not just saying like after school, I, volunteer, or Giovanni being like, I'm creative, not just saying, how much time you spend drawing or animating, but be specific about what type of medium do you prefer? What subjects do you prefer to express your creativity? So try to dive into it. So I'll give 5 minutes just to give proper think time. And you're going to put this into your Google Doc. Good question. So in the first row that has that bold outline, that's where your 5 character traits are written. And then in the box below it, that's where you're going to put your character traits. I will put this on my screen so you know exactly what I'm talking about. I just need to get it. Oh. This is the part of the handout that we're on. So you're writing your character traits here. And then you're writing specific stories, how you spend your time. What I'm writing in the column is not the level of specificity I'd like to see from you. The more specific you can get, the easier it will be to write from that lens. And I just put some guiding questions as to what might be thought about. Oh, it's super not clear. Yikes. Okay, 30 more seconds. And then we're going to start looking at examples. Yuck. All right. Is Christina still with us? Can you unmute yourself and share why I'm having you answer this question? Is she not with us? I do not hear you. Maybe she's not with us. Ajane, are you there? I hear you. Can you share why I had you do this question? Yes, that's the one. Okay, to bring out the best qualities in yourself. And how does that connect to the college essay? Yeah. Okay, you can mute yourself again. And also hoping that that leads to a direction you can take in picking a topic. That if you can think of a very specific story, that's a great way to lead in. And it doesn't have to be amazing. Like, I know I felt so much pressure in high school, like, well, I'm not an amazing human, so what do I have to offer and share? And I saw really great essays from our seniors last year of like one time, one of our seniors from last year got lost in New York. And she used that as an opportunity to talk about like how she is self-assured and is confident about being able to like ask questions and get help from other people, and that was the only reason she was able to like make it back to Grand Central Station even though she didn't have a cell phone and had like $2. She was able to like find where she needed to meet up with her mom, and she wouldn't have been able to do that had she not exhibited those traits. So it was like a really neat way for her to share some of those character traits in an easy to understand way. And because it was a specific story, she could really dive into like details and really have figurative language. So really, really great. We're going to look at a couple starting essays and how different essays opened their narrative and really shared. And you can follow along by taking notes in the page 5. I'm not sure what page number, but it says notes catcher. And that's where you can take notes as we go through what different essays did well. And you can also see, although I put links into the Google Doc about like other that have really great essays that you can reference. So if you're someone who likes a lot of examples, there are many there, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So the first one, I'm going to read it, and as I read it, you can copy into the table. So I'm going to actually share this because I think copy into the table what you're noticing the essay is doing well. So I'm only reading the opening of these essays, and you're going to write notes about what the essay is doing well. So at age 6, I remember the light-filled openness of the house, how the whir of my mother's vacuum floated from room to room. At 9, I remember how I used to lounge on the couch and watch Disney cartoons on the sideways refrigerator of a TV implanted in a small cave in the wall. At 12, I remember family photographs of the Spanish countryside hanging in every room. At 14, I remember vacuuming each foot of carpet in the massive house and folding pastel shirts fresh out of the dryer. I loved the house. I loved the way the windows soaked the house with light, a sort of bleach against any gloom. I loved how I could always find a book or magazine on any flat surface. But the vacuum my mother used wasn't ours. We never paid for cable. The photographs weren't of my family. The carpet I vacuumed I only saw once a week, and the pastel shirts I folded I never wore. The house wasn't mine. My mother was only the cleaning lady, and I helped. So write into the essay space what this essay did well. So just with that opening, what did the essay do well? And I'll go back to it so you can read. If you want to share, you can unmute and speak. What do you think this essay did well? All right, Giovanni, I'm calling you out. Giovanni, can you please unmute and share one thing that this essay did well as an opener? Giovanni, am I being heard? Thank you. Oh, Christina, are you able to unmute and share? Because you were not able to last time. You just have to click the unmute function and then you can talk and share one thing that you thought this opener did well. Is anyone able to unmute? It's that little like microphone button.
I can.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, I know how to answer the question.
Well, we're gonna force you to engage. How? Can you be specific in what detail gave that away? Mm. 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 So that was a good summary as well. Liliana, do you want to share as well? What stood out to you? Mm. Yeah, there was, yeah, that twist, which certainly hooks you at that point. Like if you made it to the third paragraph, you're definitely going to finish it because now you want to
Yeah.
know. Can you chat if you also noticed the details that were added? Like the first time I read this, I felt like I was in that living room and I felt like I could like picture the light coming through the windows. So I almost was sympathetic to the character's story because I felt like I was there. So I don't know if anyone else had that experience or if that was just me. But that was very like a neat way to hook the audience as well is to like vividly describe. And I think based on how you explained it, Ajane, that stood out to you as well. Like you could picture like seeing the books and magazines on every table and like it felt like you were in the room, which I think is a really effective starter when it feels like you're there. But they don't dawdle in it, they don't stay in that space too long. It then quickly, like what Liliana shared, like gets to the point of like this plot twist, which is really cool. I'm going to share another one and I'm going to let you read it this time because it's a little bit more clear. You can chat if you want me to read it, but I think this one's a little easier to read. And then chat what stands out to you. Liliana, can you share more about structuring their sentences about what you mean? So everyone, you're reading the first paragraph and then you're writing what you like about what they did to open up.
Well, they have a lot of like commas in every sentence.
Hmm. Oh, nice. So it has that, yeah, it has like a poetry to it almost, where some are long and then like staccato. So the emphasis
Yeah.
is there. Which you also pointed out the vocabulary, which is interesting
Yeah.
because it also has that, like the word juxtaposition kind of matches what you're saying about structure of sentences of like they conflict. Short staccato,
Yeah.
long, then really descriptive. Anyone else want to share? I'll give 30 seconds before we move forward. No pressure to share. So the reason I started with showing you these openers, this is not where you should start your writing process. If you are still in like, gosh, I just have not found a topic that I feel good about, do not hold yourself to this standard of like, man, I just don't have a really vivid description in the opening or really unique like way of capturing the audience with sentence structure. Like don't hold yourself to that bar. It's okay if you are beginning with just like thinking about a good topic. So as much as I want to move forward with like another example, I think I'd rather transition, and all of these are provided in the handout in the links. So you can read through the entire essay. All three of these are in the links that were posted in the Google Doc on page 5. So under the notes section, it says links to great essays. You can see and read all of them from beginning to end. So not just the opener like I had, you can see the whole thing. So I'll just point you to that resource and I will move forward because I would like to commit to my time of saying this will only be an hour. So I want to point out some not to do, some things to avoid, just to stay like focused on exactly what you committed as like what are your character traits, what do you want colleges to know about you, and then next step is really think about things to avoid. So I looked at a Reddit thread that was called college admissions officers, what was the worst essay you ever read? And this said, not exactly the worst, but I think the most cringeworthy essay I read was one where this guy talked about how he thought he was more mature than anyone of his age, how he never talked to anyone in school because he thought they were too dumb for him, and how he spends his free time having conversations with scientists on the internet. Also, for some reason, he felt the need to mention multiple times that he was a straight edge and didn't understand how other kids of his generation found alcohol and drugs fun. That's why this is a problematic essay. So add to the chat, why is this essay not ideal? And if you haven't been able to voice in, you are equally participating by chatting. So Christina says, too large of an ego. Self-centered, makes them sound stuck up. Not an ideal. When we say, we want unique applicants, we don't mean that they're uniquely arrogant or uniquely uncollaborative or someone you don't want to be around. He shouldn't discuss the fact he doesn't talk to anyone in his school. College requires building relationships and working with a team. Exactly. You guys all nailed it. So these are the opposite traits of what you would want to see in a college student. So not something you would want to bring out in your essay. Another one. Again, chat, what is wrong with this? The reasons that I have for wishing to go to Harvard are several. I feel that Harvard can give me a better background and a better liberal education than any other university. I have always wanted to go there as I felt that it is not just another college, but is a university with something definite to offer. Then, too, I would like to go to the same college as my father. To be a Harvard man is an enviable distinction and one that I sincerely hope I shall attain. What's wrong with this? Christina says weak vocabulary and sentences. He doesn't talk about himself at all, only about school. He's just saying he wants to go to Harvard, kind of for the title. Agree, agree, agree. Going to Harvard shouldn't be to gain a liberal education. What do you mean, Giovanni? Can you chat a little bit more? I don't know if I put it in there, Liliana. I'll search it and chat it quick. So Giovanni added, you should be going to college to gain multiple perspectives. Also, the way he wrote this essay made it sound like this is the only school he is applying to, which is bad. For sure. What I also want to point you all to, I agree with all of those. I think you nailed it. Like the vocabulary is weak. He's not really hitting on any point besides like, I want to go here. And he's not even being specific about why Harvard besides like, my dad went here. And like, I'd really like it. It's really great. He's not being specific. He is talking about himself, but like only in his like desire to go to that school and is like completely missing the point. So why I also think this is bad, you could substitute literally any school in and it would be the exact same. I feel that UConn can give me a better background and a better liberal education than any other university. Like, I guess. I feel that St. John's can give me a better background and anything could work there. So it's not even creative enough to really indicate your level of interest. So a college admissions counselor is going to read that and go like, I bet you wrote the same exact thing about every single school and just like substituted our name into it. So you're automatically going to be regarded as boring. Another problem with this is anybody could have written this. So and I could have been the subject of the, fill in the blank, and it would have worked. We could have substituted a ton of different names in there, and it would work for every single one of those people because it's so bland and it doesn't offer any context as to who is this applicant, what do they have to offer our school. It is so generic that you're learning nothing. It's pretty much a waste. Like, you might as well not send in an application. And I am guessing no one has read this before, but the person who submitted this college essay was none other than our president, John F. Kennedy. So this was John F. Kennedy's college application letter to Harvard. And I will add that John F. Kennedy did not make good grades in high school. Like, in terms of getting into Harvard, he was a BC student, which I saw when I was at his museum in Boston. And he very much got into that school because of his father. I think his mind developed significantly and he matured a great deal, but this was his letter. And unless you all have contacts at Harvard and a lot of money and a recognizable last name, I unfortunately do not think this letter is going to work for you. And I'm gonna move forward. There are plenty of common problems that we can avoid in the Common App. So we're going to look more specifically at 2 essays to figure out what did they do wrong and what did they do right. They are not great essays, but overall you can kind of bucket the major issues that go into writing essays to avoid. And I don't say this to like intimidate you or overwhelm you with like, now I have 20 million other things to think about. I just mean to say it in a lens of like, try to avoid it and know that multiple revisions will be required. So common problems are with the topic, which many of you indicated in the beginning. Lily, you said that this was one of the hardest parts, was like picking your topic and perfecting it. And really picking it is huge. And Ajane saying knowing how to say what you want to say is very much dependent on the topic. If you have a topic that you're excited about or you feel really good about, it's so much easier to write. And it might take you the third time you sit down to write a draft that it suddenly clicks. So my biggest advice, what I'm going to end on, is to tell you to just get through your first draft. Even if it's garbage, even if you hate it the entire time, you must sit and force yourself to finish the first draft because it is easier to fix something versus start it. Easier to fix than it is to start. And that's the hardest step, is starting. So I really encourage you, if you haven't sat down to write a full essay, do it. And if you have 3 topics in mind or you're not sure which one's going to be better, you need to sit and force yourself to write a first draft of all 3. And just, it's going to suck. You're going to have to incentivize yourself. You're going to have some sort of reward, but sit down and write all 3 essays and figure out which one is working best. Get feedback from each other. I'm willing to edit your essay. I already told someone that I was going to look at theirs. So as long as you give me a realistic window, I'm happy to give you feedback, but I can't give feedback on nothing. So common problems with topic is something to be considerate of. Problems with topic, bad sense of judgment or maturity. We saw that in the first example. Kid that was so like egotistical, like I'm amazing, I don't talk to anybody. That's not going to work. We saw JFK, pretty boring person. He had nothing unique to contribute, no significant ideas, no qualities represented. So showing you're a boring person if all you're doing is like talking about school or talking about yourself in a non-meaningful way, and it doesn't reflect your values, your character traits, your interests. Unaware, disconnected from the outside world, cliche. Emphasis on cliche. Emphasis on cliche here, because a common thing in the Reddit thread was the number of essays where people shared, I went on a service trip and I learned that I have it so lucky, and I didn't help them, they helped me. That is like 35% of all essays is the service trip essay. So if you are going to do that as your topic, you must be in the top 5% of exquisite writing or like incredibly unique circumstances, because every time a college counselor like gets that essay, they roll their eyes because it is cliche. Even if it was significant to you, they're not saying don't go on service trips. They're saying if that's all you have to offer me and you have no critical lens besides like, I learned that service is important or I don't have it as bad as other people, that's actually showing you're probably disconnected from the outside world and like out of touch, and that you are incredibly cliche. I know that might be harsh. It is said with love and an encouragement that you can do better and you will. Another common problem is with execution. So that's the writing mechanics, that's showing poor grammar. And another common problem would be like ignoring the essay prompt. So if your college is saying like to write an additional topic and you're not actually responding to what the question requires, it's either indicating that you don't listen as a human or that you don't understand how to like interpret a prompt. So neither is signaling a good thing for you. So what not to write? We're going to look at two bad essays, and they can both be found within your little guide. So we're going to go here, here. So if you scroll down, what to avoid? Bad essay number 1. I'm going to have you read this on your own. Oops. Read it on your own and think about what did this writer do well and what needs revision. What did the writer do well? What needs revision? You don't have to write these out. I will tell you the answers, but I would like you to get a sense of the reading. If you need to leave at 9, go for it. No hard feelings. If you want to stay, I will stay as well. So I'll give you 4 minutes to read through this essay. I know it's quick. So 4 minutes to read through this essay. No hard feelings if you need to leave. I will update a Google Doc with my additional notes. And I'll share the Reddit page with you, Lily, right now. For my participants that are going to stick with me, we're going to go through one of the essays and then some bottom lines. And I'll leave you with a task. So I would say we'll be going until 9:10. All right. I'm going to go through and give you what went right and what went wrong. This is the essay, Christina. Good question. You're really nailing that this is part of the problem that arose in this person's essay. All right. So what did this person do right? And I mean that correctly. What I have on the screen is a pun, people. It's a pun. So what did they do right? Because that's not horrible. It's just not going to be great. So where did this essay go right? Where are they doing some correct moves? What's something that could be replicated? All right, things that went well. Killer first sentence. So I'm gonna show in the window what we see here. Good first sentence. Hook, neat, interesting, makes me want to keep reading. Was your childhood home destroyed by a landspout tornado? Yeah, neither was mine. I mean, it's a little kooky and not ideal, but it does a nice job of like being a strange fact about different kinds of tornadoes. You know, a late deep night thought hypothetical, and it's a way to connect with the reader. You know, regardless of your taste. It has some gentle, self-deprecating humor, which, you know, shows a little bit of humility, shows a little bit of good-naturedness. And humor, when done right, can be effective. When done wrong, is lethal. A good exit. So at the bottom of the essay, with this realization, I turned around as quickly as I could without crashing into a tree. Again, kind of showing this kid is a little kooky, and you know, shows like a narrative of them like going on this hike, think in their thoughts, and kind of narrating that there's like a, you know, funny and clever instance. Thank you, Bree. I will follow up with you. Where the essay needs revision. Spends way too long in this metacognitive state, this meta narrative, and that's, Christina, why your comment is so spot on of like, is this the essay or is this writing about it? Like, it's so unclear and it gets lost so quickly about like, what are they trying to do? Like, it's not clear, difficult to understand. There's a line that says like, I know that intro might have given the impression that this college essay will be about withstanding disasters, but the truth is that it isn't about that at all. It's like he's talking around the point so much that you're almost like lost about what are they actually talking about. Like it's very easy to get lost in this essay. And then spends a lot of time letting other people do all the doing. So yeah, it confuses the reader, Giovanni. Exactly. You have so little time. You have about 5 minutes to impress this counselor and make them want to continue reading. And he spends so much time letting other people do things and not talking about like what he is doing. So there's just like a lot of missed opportunities. Leaving the insight and meaning out of his experiences. So like dropping you know, these life experiences, but like not expanding on them, or like interests, like references Star Trek, but like doesn't dive into it at all. So like kind of just missed opportunities again, and not adding like depth. So keeping everything very much at the surface of like, oh, hey, by the way, this is an FYI about me, and now we're going to move on. There's like no depth that's ever reached, or like these clear points of like, I can really tell like this character trait about this person, or I can tell that they're really like have a unique vision. Like this gets confusing, things are lost, it's not very clear like what points are trying to be made. So it just does, it misses. It misses the opportunity of learning about who this person is. It's a missed opportunity and be able to explain um, to counselors like who you are, what additional quantity like qualities that you offer. It's just a missed opportunity overall. So there's another one that you can look through on your own, and I'll send the notes out. So it has I once saw poor people service trip essay. So this was like the cliche that I was talking about of what to avoid is cliches. And this gives a narrative about like why it's problematic. And in this one, there's one thing that the writer does very well, 4 things that they need revision on. I'll send those out to you as well. And just looking at our at what I scoped out for you. I just want to share some bottom lines. And these bottom lines can be found if you continue through the Google Doc. So past that, like there's 2 bad essays, and then we have these bottom lines. Right under it is a good essay. So, oh, it's so good. I might save that actually for when the next time I'm going to post a college essay workshop. This is a really beautiful essay. I love it. So we're going to stick with the bottom lines to end session. So you can fill in all the blanks with what we have right here. So the bottom lines. Bad college essays have problems either with their topics or their execution. So that's like a key takeaway. So when thinking about whether you're in the brainstorming phase of like what's something good, it's helpful to recall what problems to avoid. And I know that that's not helpful when there's like feels like there's 10 million options and I'm like these 4 are bad. It's like great, now I'm at 900 like 9,999,999, like no problem. Actually 96 because I said 4. So I know that's not helpful, but hopefully it puts up guardrails so your thinking doesn't go in crazy directions and that we don't confuse like creativity for catastrophe. Like there is a very clear line there of like when something falls flat, or I think what this kid was trying to do in the first bad essay was trying to be really creative of like, I'm going to talk about the essay itself. Like that's what's going to distinguish me as a real like, thought leader of my age group. But indeed it didn't work. So there's a huge risk and there's times where things can, a big risk like that can pay off, but when it doesn't, it will certainly harm you. So I know last year, someone got into, like not this past year, the year before, someone got into Stanford for writing what's something you care about was essentially the prompt. And they did hashtag Black Lives Matter and filled every single character that was available in that essay with hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Black Lives Matter, and copied and pasted it the entire essay, and that person got into Stanford. So that means that that move is no longer going to work because you're not going to sound original. You're going to sound like you are clean because you are. So you can take a huge risk of being creative and maybe it'll work. But if it doesn't, there's no redeeming quality there. So it's a huge gray area and very quickly can turn into doesn't work. And it's also very rare for it to turn into something great. So it's better to stay true to yourself. Bullet essay is how admissions officers learn about your personality, point of view, and maturity level. So getting the topic right is a key factor in letting them see you as an aware, self-directed, open-minded applicant who is going to thrive in an environment of independence. The essay is also how admissions officers learn that you are writing at a ready for college level. The whole point is you're saying like, I'm ready for college. And then if, you're not using contractions correctly or using contractions, that can quickly signal to them of like, Maybe this kid ain't ready. Problematic. The main ways college essays topics go wrong is bad taste, bad judgment, and lack of self-awareness. We saw that in some of our openers. The main ways college essays fail in their execution have to do with ignoring format, syntax, and genre expectations. So my closing line to you all is if you already have an essay that has been written, that you make sure that you are not violating any of these no-nos. So double check. Give this list to someone else and have them check. I know it's scary to have someone look at your stuff, but I promise it will lead to a better outcome. I know writing can be incredibly vulnerable and it can feel like super difficult to share that with someone, but I promise it will lead to a better result. And my task to you is that you force yourself to write a first draft if you don't have one. Looks like I didn't finish this thought. Struggling with the topic, pick like 3 different ideas and force yourself to write about all 3. If you already have an essay topic, go through revision. Send it to someone. A topic, go through revision by sending it to someone who will give you honest feedback. We don't need gentle, gentle friends who are going to be so kind and, complimentary, because the point is that you have an excellent outcome. And I've seen people that have excellent essays and it turns into scholarships. So it can be a huge advantage, and not just to get into school, but also to afford school better. I'm going to end there. So these are your tasks, potentially tasks, depending on who you are. That's what I commissioned for you to try to finish. I would like you to, before you leave, to chat in the comments. What was helpful? What would you like to learn next? That would be helpful to me. And I know that next Wednesday is the SAT. So I don't want to conflict with the SAT and want you to be focused. So I'm thinking of having another session on either Thursday or Friday, just because I know it can be stressful going into college time. So tasks, get an essay so that next session we can really focus in on being stronger writers in our essay and be more critical of what made things better. And I have good examples from students last year, how their essay improved, so we can analyze that. We can look at a really good really good essay and reference key things that worked great for her. So I think that's where we're going to start.